There's something no one tells you. You don't need to change your entire life to transform your destiny. You only need to change how you position yourself before it. This is not just another video. 4 internal attitudes, 4 ancient keys. If you activate them, you don't just calm your mind, you awaken your true strength, and then you master your life. Let's begin with the first attitude. The silent art of accepting what is. Accepting sounds easy when you say it out loud, but in practice, accepting hurts because accepting what is implies stopping the fight against what you would want it to be. It implies looking straight at what cannot be changed, what doesn't fit your plans, what breaks your ideas of control. And that, for a mind accustomed to wanting to manage every detail, every ending, every emotion, is almost unbearable at first. Accepting what is doesn't mean resigning yourself. It's not throwing in the towel or surrendering to pain. Resignation is closing your heart, giving up and hardening yourself inside. Acceptance, on the other hand, is a profound act of wisdom. It's looking reality in the eyes and telling it, I'm not going to demand that you be different for me to be at peace. And that is revolutionary, because until you do that, you're at war with life. In Buddhism, this attitude is essential. You cannot transform what you don't accept. You cannot alleviate your suffering if you're constantly resisting what is already happening. The first step toward freedom is to stop fighting with reality, and that doesn't mean you approve of the pain or like what's happening, but that you sit with them without adding more suffering. The experience is already here, the loss, the change, the discomfort. What you add is the resistance. This shouldn't be happening. This isn't fair. This isn't how I imagined it. That resistance becomes a second layer of suffering, often more intense than the first. Accepting is an art because it's not automatic. It's learned, cultivated, practiced over and over again, like someone tuning an instrument that's always slightly out of tune. It requires attention, humility, and above all, presence, because only when you're truly present can you see what is without the distortion of your desires, your fears, or your projections. When you learn to accept what is, something in you relaxes, not because everything is fine, but because you're no longer breaking yourself against the inevitable. You stop hitting the wall, stop demanding that things be different, and from that broader, softer place you can act with wisdom. Accepting is not staying still, it's moving from another place, no longer from frustration, but from clarity. Accepting what is also implies accepting what's inside you, the sadness you didn't want to feel, the fear you were hiding, the part of you that doesn't fit your ideal of how you should be. And when you finally sit with that without trying to eliminate it, without masking it, without running, true healing begins. Because what is accepted with consciousness transforms, not because you force it, but because you embrace it. It's not fast, it's not comfortable, but it's profoundly liberating. The art of accepting what is doesn't promise you a life without pain, but it offers you something much more valuable, a life without escape. And when you stop running, when you can stay, when you can look without resistance, you discover that even the most difficult can contain something sacred, and that you, simply by staying, have already begun to awaken. The second attitude, the gaze of the inner warrior. Observing without reacting seems at first glance like a passive action, but when you live it, you realize it's one of the most powerful acts that exist, because it requires a different strength. Strength that isn't based on control or imposition or turning off what you feel. It requires internal courage, the kind of courage that doesn't make noise, but transforms everything it touches. There's a part of you that has been trained to respond immediately to what makes you uncomfortable, to what threatens you, to what irritates you. You react with words, with gestures, with thoughts that arrive before you have time to see them coming. And that automatic, repetitive, often unconscious reaction is what Buddhism calls conditioning. It's the mental habit of acting without seeing, of acting without pause, of acting from blind impulse. The real deep liberating practice begins when you're able to see that impulse and not follow it. That's where the gaze of the inner warrior is born. Not the warrior who attacks, but the one who stays, the one who doesn't flee, the one who looks inward without turning away because he knows that every difficult emotion, every sharp thought, every destructive impulse is also a door. And not all doors are crossed with feet. Some open with the gaze. Observing without reacting is not repressing, it's not ignoring, it's recognizing what happens inside you without turning it into a mandate. Feeling anger and not acting with it, feeling fear and not obeying it, feeling sadness and not drowning in it. That's not weakness, that's awakened presence. Affirm your strength in the comments so we support each other. I observe without reacting. When you train that gaze day after day in the everyday, you begin to notice that the mind loses strength over you. It no longer has the same power. It no longer drags you with the same violence. The pause appears, space opens, and there, right there, you can choose. You can choose to breathe instead of shout. You can choose to stay silent instead of reacting with anger. You can choose to respond from the heart, not from the wound. The Buddha compared the untrained mind to a wild elephant that destroys everything in its path. But when it's domesticated, when it's trained with patience and compassion, that same elephant becomes a source of power and nobility. Your mind, when you learn to observe it, is no longer your enemy, it's your ally. And the first sign that it's changing is that you no longer need to follow everything it tells you. This attitude, conscious observation, is the beginning of all true transformation. Because you can't change what you don't see, you can't free yourself from what you don't recognize. But if you're willing to look without haste, without judgment, without the need to intervene immediately, something reorders itself within you. As if the soul, seeing itself reflected without distortion, began to remember its true form. It's not easy. Sometimes looking hurts. Sometimes silence shows you what you avoided for years. But the inner warrior is not the one who never trembles. It's the one who trembles and stays anyway. The one who breathes. The one who sees. The one who chooses consciously, even when emotion roars. And with each time you choose not to react, automatically you're stopping repeating the story. You're writing a new way of being in the world. Freer, more stable, more real. Because only when you can look inward without moving do you finally start moving with truth. The third attitude, the flight of one who no longer fears to let go. Letting go. What a simple word, and yet so difficult to embody. Because letting go is not just releasing what has already gone, it's also renouncing the illusion that something belongs to us, that we can retain what is destined to change. And that for the human heart so accustomed to attachment, so desirous of permanence, feels like a loss, like a small death. But what Buddhism teaches over and over again with infinite compassion is that letting go is not an act of weakness. Letting go, when done with consciousness, is one of the greatest acts of inner freedom you can offer yourself. Letting go is not neglecting or fleeing or detaching. It's not lack of love, it's not apathy. Letting go is deeply understanding the impermanence of everything that exists. It's seeing clearly that everything you love, people, emotions, moments, even your own identity, is in constant transformation, and that your suffering doesn't arise from that truth, but from the struggle you wage against it. Because what changes doesn't hurt. What hurts is not accepting that it changes. You live much of your life trying to control that the other doesn't. Leave, that the job lasts, that your image doesn't crumble, that the body doesn't age, and the more you cling, the more you harden. Attachment gives you a false sense of security, but in reality it imprisons you, immobilizes you, makes you live in constant fear of losing what you have or not getting what you want. It makes you a prisoner of the outcome, of the future, of what you cannot guarantee. Letting go is the opposite. It's trusting, it's opening your hand. It's allowing what has already completed its cycle to move away, even if you still love it, even if you still desire it. Not because you don't care, but because you understand that what is real doesn't need to be held by force, and that what should stay finds its way to do so with gentleness, not with tension. The Buddha spoke of attachment as a consuming flame. You cannot have peace if your entire being is burning in the desire to keep things as they are. But if you learn to truly let go, from the depths, the fire subsides, air enters, the body breathes. And that freedom doesn't resemble loss. It resembles flight, because what you let go of with consciousness doesn't take your essence. On the contrary, it leaves space for something truer to appear. When you let go of the character, you can find the being. When you let go of the story, you can hear the moment. When you let go of the need, you can love without condition. It's not easy. Letting go of what you love hurts. Letting go of what you thought you needed terrifies. But if you dare to go through that discomfort without anesthesia, without flight, without haste, on the other side awaits something different. A peace you hadn't known. Not the peace of everything fitting together, but the peace of not needing it to. Declare in the comments, I live in peace. The fourth attitude, walking like one who knows who they are. There are many ways to walk through life. You can do it in a hurry, as if you were running towards some place that never arrives. You can do it with fear, stepping cautiously to avoid pain. You can do it asleep without realizing where you're going or why you do what you do. Or you can do it with intention, with the calm of one who has remembered their direction, with the strength of one who has stopped moving by impulse and has started moving by purpose. That's what this attitude teaches, walking like one who knows who they are. It's not about knowing everything or having answers for everything. It's about being rooted, feeling from within that each step you take has root, has consciousness, has soul, that you're not reacting to life, but relating to it, step by step. From your center, most people don't walk with intention. They walk with autopilot on. They get up, work, love, decide, get angry without fully knowing what moves them. They let themselves be carried by the environment, by what's expected of them, by habits they repeat without questioning. And that's where life becomes a succession of actions without depth, a collection of days without true direction. The Buddhist path offers you something radical, the possibility of awakening in the midst of all that, of not continuing to move only by inertia, but by clarity. You don't need a grand plan. You only need to return to yourself over and over again and ask yourself honestly, what am I cultivating with this that I do? From where am I moving? Am I walking from fear, from habit, or from an awakened heart? Walking with intention doesn't mean everything will turn out well. It means you'll know why you're doing what you're doing, that even when things get messy, your internal root will remain firm because you're not acting to fulfill something external, but to honor something internal. It's the difference between reacting and responding, between surviving and living awake. And when you walk like this, everything you do transforms. A simple gesture like preparing tea or looking someone in the eyes becomes part of the path. A conversation, a difficult decision, a silence becomes an extension of your practice because you're no longer trying to get somewhere. You're already on the path and you're inhabiting it with presence. The Buddha spoke of intention as the seed that determines the fruit, not by superstition, but because everything you do leaves a mark, and that mark begins in the mind, in the emotion, in the clarity or confusion from which each action is born. That's why when you start moving from lucid intention, even mistakes become learning. Even detours teach you to return. Walking like one who knows who they are doesn't have to do with security. It has to do with the honesty of sustaining yourself while you walk, even if the terrain becomes uncertain. You don't need eternal certainties. You only need to know in each step that you're being faithful to your deepest truth, not the one that changes with the ego, but the one that awakens in silence. And then walking stops being a struggle. It becomes a practice, a constant return, a meditation in movement, because when you walk with intention, even if the world is in chaos, you continue being path, you continue being direction, you continue being presence. Now you know them. 4 attitudes, 4 different ways of looking, of responding, of walking. They're not theories, they're not pretty words to keep in a notebook and forget. They are living practices. They are internal paths. You can begin to walk today, right now, without changing your entire life, without giving up anything, only with one decision, to be more present in yourself and look from another place. Because these attitudes don't only apply when you're meditating or when everything is calm. No, they apply in the everyday, in the simplest, in the most human. Accepting what is, for example, is not about resigning yourself to great tragedies. It's about looking at that small delay, that message that doesn't arrive, that misunderstanding, with someone you love and choosing not to fight with that, choosing to breathe instead of tensing up. Observing without reacting happens when someone says something that touches you, that activates your wound, and you, instead of responding with the old automatic script, choose to see what you feel and stay with it a moment longer. Letting go is put into practice every time you notice you're clinging to an expectation, to an old story, to a version of yourself you no longer need, and you decide to loosen your grip. Walking with intention occurs when you don't just do things but because you know what you want to cultivate with each step, with each word, with each choice. That is awakening. It's not changing the world, it's changing your way of being in it. And yes, you're going to forget. Many times you'll react. Again, you'll get attached, again, you'll flee again. But each time you notice, each time you return, you'll be training a new way of living. You'll be strengthening an invisible muscle that with time sustains everything. And that humble, constant, silent return is the true spiritual practice. That's why this channel, this space exists, to accompany you in that return, so that each time you forget, you can come back, listen again, remember, breathe, let go. Not because you're broken, but because you're in process. Because we all are. So take these attitudes like seeds, and if you can, return to them each morning. Before beginning the day, before letting the noise of the world enter, ask yourself, can I accept what there is? Can I look without reacting? Can I let go with confidence? Can I walk from truth? And if you can't, that's also fine, because each time you remember, you have already begun to awaken. Come back when you need it. Subscribe. Here, silence is the guide and the word is the bridge. If this message resonated with you, give it a like so I know you appreciated it, and drop a comment saying, "My attitude dictates my destiny." Let's keep this energy alive and growing. Thank you for listening, for being present, and for walking this path of growth together. Stay focused, stay intentional. Blessings and much light to you. With gratitude, Daily Dharma.